My session is called Tips and Tools for Making Iconic Power Apps. And my name is Paddy Byrne. And I've been working with, to give you a bit of background, I've been working with Dynamics Microsoft Business Applications since 2009. Started off as a help desk support engineer supporting .NET websites. And we used CRM 4.0 to track support cases, so I kind of fell into it. So I suppose I started as a citizen developer before the term was coined. And I just solved my own business process problems by starting to dabble with the system and creating custom fields, custom entities, and just improving the general processes. And I just went from there, really. We sold a Dynamics CRM implementation. I was the one that knew most about it and started implementing it, and I've been doing that ever since. I specialize in Dynamics 365 for sales and customer service. But in the last year, I've kind of pivoted from Dynamics 365 to Power Platform, just because there seems to be more opportunities utilizing the Power Platform as opposed to those first-party apps. So the objective for this session is really to understand the importance of using icons correctly in Power Apps and apps in general, really. Provide you with the tools to create unique icons and prove that you can develop professional looking Power Apps without the need for any design experience or expensive software. In the current landscape that we're in just now, user experience is more important than ever. And with the inventive canvas apps, we can certainly let our creative juices flow a bit more as opposed to being constrained by the model-driven apps. So graphics and icons improve the user experience and are becoming more important. And so the agenda, how I'll meet those objectives. I'll talk to you why you should care about icon use and what icons are. We'll look at some generic icon usage, and then we'll look at 4, I say almost free, they're free-ish tools. You need to pay for one of them that I use on a daily basis. I've been using some of them for a couple good kind of 10 years now. In my job role as a functional consultant. We'll also look at where icons are used within Power Apps, and we'll demonstrate where to find icons of the right size and how to upload them. And then we'll look at getting creative with Canvas apps. And after that, I've got a wee homework assignment for you to take away as well. So why are icons important? Research shows that the brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than text. So when you open your Power App, whether it's a Canvas app or a model-driven app, icons are the first thing that the users will notice about that. And remember, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression because their brain will process that information first. And if you've got, no matter how functional your app is, if it looks like crap, they'll probably think it's crap. What is an icon? So this is there's many definitions of an icon. This is probably the favorite one that I've found. It's an image that represents an application, a capability, or some other concept or specific entity with meaning for the user. And I highlight that meaning for the user in bold because that's the key. A user has to mean something, and an icon should tell a story. They provide instructions on what the user should do next or what's going to happen next within the flow of your app or within the user's journey through your app. So we'll have a look at the different icons, some good and some bad, and we'll have a look at what they represent and what story they tell and see if we can kind of guess what story each icon tells. This one's dead easy. My 3-year-old knows this one. Every time he sees it, he pushes it because he's addicted to YouTube, and he probably thinks it actually represents real zombies because that's every time he says he wants to see real zombies all the time on YouTube. And that's the play media icon. So a very familiar, universally accepted icon there. The next one we'll look at, again, very universally accepted, even if you don't use diskettes or you've never used diskettes. When most people see that icon, if they've any familiarity with computers or IT, they know that as the save icon. And the next one's a bit more obscure. It looks like a house. But again, most people, when they see that within an app or an IT environment, they'll recognize that as a home icon. So we've looked at 3 good examples of universally accepted icons there. This static one's a bit different. That also could mean home. It kind of looks like a church or a barn, but it also looks like up. So I would say that's a bad use of an icon. I wouldn't use that in my app. The icon's name is actually home icon, although again, I wouldn't recognize that as home. It could mean so many different things. And my point in showing that is that when you're choosing your icons to put in your app, to choose icons that you know straight away that the user's going to understand. The next one we'll look at, and again, this is probably more confusing, and it's another home icon, I think. This icon, actually, again, the icon name for this that I downloaded is river. And for me, I don't see anything river about that. That looks like a brick wall in front of a house to me, but apparently it's a river. And again, that's the reason I'm showing that is that with although it might be recognized as a home icon, we've added some unnecessary detail to that, and that could be confusing to the user. And here's one that's actually used in quite a lot of apps. Again, I'll explain why this is good and why it's bad. I understand that it looks a bit like share. That arrow could represent that we're going to share something. It also could represent log out. So it looks possibly exiting or logging out of something. The icon itself is actually called export, and it's about exporting data out of a system. Again, that's a similar icon that's used across some of the even the power apps that we have, the first party apps. And here's another one. See if you can guess what this one is. It's kind of a combination between a diskette and a paperclip. So two universally accepted icons there, but used together. Does it mean save? And does it mean attach? It actually means both. It means save all attachments. But again, that could be confusing to a user because they have to spend kind of a few seconds actually deciphering what it is. And this one here, again, this is a standard icon that I have seen used. I didn't know what the heck it was. To me, that said caterpillars for all I knew. It is actually reverse sort, the name of that icon. Now, those last three icons that we looked at, now they're not necessarily bad icons. In fact, once you actually know what they are, they actually make sense. And if we look at the three of those, export, save all attachments in reverse, along with that text, they're not bad at all. Yeah, they make sense, and that could come across well in an app if taken within the right context. That brings me on to labels. So icons work better if they have labels. And as you see in the last three examples there, those icons with the labels or the description next to them, they made sense. The issue is that labels are costly, and they cost in screen real estate. So if you're thinking about your app on a mobile phone and you've got 8 or 9 icons, all with labels, some of them quite long descriptive labels like save all attachments, you're taking up a lot of screen real estate there. So there's advantages to using labels and advantages to not using labels. The advantages of not using labels is that your application is automatically universal. You don't need to translate anything. You don't need to make it multilingual. The disadvantages are that if you're using icons that are not globally recognizable, then your app may be confusing to users and difficult to operate. And the biggest mistake you can make when using icons is to assume that the user knows what the icons mean. And Microsoft learned this lesson a hard way a few years ago when they released a version of Outlook that only had icons in the toolbar, and they assumed that the user would know what the icons mean. And this resulted in a pure user experience, and it wasn't long before Microsoft released an update which added text labels to each of the icons. One thing to keep in mind, regardless of whether you use labels or not, is to try and make your application accessible. So whether you're using icons to make the touch target bigger on your screen, or you use the accessible label to, if you're not using labels, use the accessible label to consider screen readers. Another benefit of using icons is that you can use them to your advantage in setting the mood of your application. these three icons here all really could represent the same thing as a user or a person. The first one is simple and corporate, and that's known as the glyph style. The second one is a linear style, which is friendly and modern, and that's the one that's used in the modern model-driven power apps. And the last one is a flat style, and that portrays a positive, enjoyable, funny mood to them. And you'd try and avoid and mix these styles. You might get away with mixing the simple corporate style with the friendly and modern style, but you certainly wouldn't mix the enjoyable, funny kind of style, flat style, with a corporate, if you were trying to portray a corporate mood. And next we'll go on to some tools that I've been using to create icons, and icons of the right size within my Dynamics 365 and Power Apps career. The first one we're going to look at is called Color Pick. And Color Pick is an eyedropper app. So that's what that icon there is. That's an eyedropper. You may have seen these in if you've used any graphic design tools. You could put the cursor over an area of the screen, and when you click or you do a keystroke, it grabs that color, it almost like sucks it up and puts it into the Color Picker app. It's got a built-in magnifier at the bottom, and I'll demonstrate each of these tools in the live demo and how they're used. And it's got a palette that you can grab and store colors, so you can go back and you look at colors that you've already used or you've already grabbed. And you can create your own colors from the bit in the middle. You can also get a lot of information about the color. There's a hex number there. Again, we'll show you that during the live demo, and you see the red, green, blue values that we'll use as well. And it allows you to save different palettes. So I could save a palette as I've got the Freefall 365 in that screenshot, which is my own personal brand. I could save multiple different palettes there for each kind of client or brand of app that I'm working on. The next tool is the Iconator, and that's part of the XRM toolbox. And if you're new to Power Apps or Dynamics 365, you might not know what the XRM toolbox is. It's a free tool, group of tools made for the community by the community. So there's a lot of tasks that you can optimize by using the XRM toolbox, and it's open source tools that are made for free by the community. And yeah, that costs free. The Iconator, I forgot to mention the cost, costs $7.50. It was actually free up until 2 years ago. I've used it for about 10 years. It was free up until about 2 years ago when they put a very high price of $7.50, which I don't think is high at all. Actually, it's a really reasonable price for how many years I've been using it. And the XRM toolbox is free. The Iconator within the XRM toolbox allows you to load entities and images from the Common Data Service database and automatically upload your icons from your machine and create web resources within the Common Data Service for use to map to entity icons. And again, we'll demonstrate that during the live demo. The next tool is an almost free tool. I say free-ish, as in it doesn't cost any money to purchase. It's Metro Studio by Syncfusion, and that's a catalogue of 7,000 plus flat and wireframe icons. I say free-ish because you have to sign up with your email address, and I'm not sure what happens with your email address after that. I certainly haven't experienced an increase in spam since I signed up to it, but again, you need to sign up with an email address to get an activation code to run the software on your desktop. All the icons available in there are customizable and they're categorized. And one of the big benefits is you can export as a .png or .svg format, which are the formats used in Power Apps. And the last tool is Microsoft PowerPoint, and PowerPoint comes with Office 365. PowerPoint contains a categorized catalog of icons as well. Not as extensive as Metro Studio by Syncfusion, but the great thing about PowerPoint, other than the features that allow you to do presentations, is that it allows you to add styles and colors to icons. It allows you to edit SVGs and PNGs and save them as images on your machine. And because they can be uploaded into Canvas apps, you can really make some cool looking icons and customize the icons that you download from Metro Studio or other sources, and make them kind of add gradients and shadows and things to them to use in your Power Apps. And I just thought I'd go through the icon use through the ages. I'm doing this for two reasons. One, because I like a trip down nostalgia lane. I like to see how Dynamics CRM, the product I started working with, has evolved into Power Apps, but also to highlight to anyone who's new as a citizen developer, you already may work in an organization that uses one of these apps. In fact, the screenshots on these next few slides from CRM4 and CRM 2011. So that was 2009 and 2011. These are actually live systems that we still support today. So if you might actually already be working with Power Apps and not realize that Power Apps was derived from one of these systems. And so if you do find yourself in that situation, then you can use some of the things you learned today to apply to those systems and customize those systems. So the first one I'm going to look at is CRM 4.0, and that was in 2009. Again, I'll just go over each of these briefly. Our icon sizes on the left navigation, the small ones were 16 by 16 GIFs. There was another icon, I couldn't find a screenshot of this one because it was the Outlook client, which was 32 by 32 ICO. I don't know anyone using the Outlook client. I don't think it's compatible with any new versions of Outlook, but it's worth mentioning. And the other one was a very awkward one. It caused a lot of troubles getting the right size of icon. It was the icon that's on the form. You'll see it in the right screenshot there, which is 66 by 48 GIF. Bit of an odd size there. Then came along CRM 2011. The 16 by 16 navigation icons stayed the same, and they were very colourful. And the form icons were 32 by 32, and the file format's changed to PNG, GIF, or JPEG, so you could use whatever one you wanted there. And this is when really the Iconator, one of the tools that we'll look at today, was first created, and it was for use with CRM 2011. And if we look at CRM 2013, the layout changed, and the colors changed, but the icon sizes didn't change. The icons and the entities at the top, if you look at that top screenshot, they're white and they're 32 by 32. And then there's some small icons which have to be gray, and those are the hex numbers up there for those colors. And again, the file formats didn't change either. And again, nothing really changed through CRM 2015 other than the placement of the entity icons. CRM 2015, 2016, and right into Dynamics 365. The sizes and the colors remained the same. And then Power Apps came along and introduced the format as SVG. So Dynamics 365 for customer engagement really became a model-driven app, possibly the first model-driven Power App. And support for SVG was introduced. SVG now become the preferred format for icons in Power Apps. And the reason for that is because they can scale according to your desired solution. So we only really need one icon size now, is that's 32 by 32, and regardless of where we use that icon, it'll scale accordingly. And the unified interface, which it's been kind of bubbling away under the hood since 2015, that's now the main interface for Power Apps. It looks like that. That's Dynamics 365 for sale using the unified interface. And that's now, I think it's changed now, that's going to, the old interface is going to be switched off on the 1st of December now. So if you look at the icons there, that's the kind of icons if you're creating any new Power Apps that we'll be using. And again, the icon size is universal. It's 32 by 32, and the format that we'll use is SVG. And if you notice that Power App there, that says Dynamics 365 at the top. The only reason that says that is because I've got a Dynamics 365 license on that environment. If I look at an environment that I don't have a Dynamics 365 license on, I'll get the purple Power Apps menu along the top. And that's the only difference. But along with the Power Platform came Canvas apps, which is a completely different type of app to the app we're known, the CRM or the customer engagement model-driven apps. And Canvas app open up the whole load of possibilities. Anything goes in Canvas apps. You can have images and icons of any, well, almost any format and size on your page. The Canvas app Maker tool comes with icons, but you can also create any icons you want. And this is an example of an app that heavily uses icons, a really good example by Reza Durrani, and this is available for free on the Power Apps community website. And the reason I use this example is because it demonstrates just how good he's uses icons. So you've got a load of icons in the menu down the side with no labels. He's also used labels up in the finish and save where he's thought that icon might be difficult to understand. So that's a really good use of icons and labels, and it just kind of shows you the possibilities that you can do that Canvas app gives us. And another screenshot of Canvas app, and this is one that I'm actually working on just now, and this is the one that we'll do a live demo, and we'll actually do a wee bit of build of this app. It's a kind of flashcard app to help you study for exams. But if you look at the icons on here, they're not just plain flat icons. They've actually got some depth, they've got shadows and some styling to them as well. And that's the reason for me showing you that, is that's what we'll be working on, and that's what we'll be doing during the live demo. That's what I'll skip to now. I'll share my other screen so that I can show you the demo. And we'll start off by looking at the model-driven app. So this is us in Office 365. If we open up Power Apps, oops, I'm in the wrong environment. That is this one here. Open up Power Apps. Go to solutions, and we've got my StudyMate app solution in here, and we'll open it up and we'll just have a look at what the model driven app looks like right now. So this is a model driven app with some custom entities that have been added to it. And look at the icon here. This is actually my favorite icon of all time, believe it or not. It's a jigsaw puzzle piece, and the reason it's my favorite icon is because it represents what a custom entity is within the Common Data Service. A custom entity that you would normally create when you're building a solution and there's a missing piece to the solution, and so that I think represents a custom entity really well. As much as it's my favorite icon of all time, it's just I hate to see it. I detest seeing it in environments because and there's so many environments that I've taken over that just have a huge list of custom entity icons in here. Unless you've got a jigsaw puzzle piece, then I don't see any need for using it, because you can replace this icon with something a bit more meaningful. And so we've got a list of custom icons there which we'll want to replace. So what I'll show you first, I'll show you how the Power Apps Maker Studio allows you to add a custom icon to our certification entity. I've got some icons already in here, but I'll start from the start and show you. I don't have one for certification, so I'll use some of the tools that we've got to create one. And this process is a wee bit long-winded, so but it's the out-of-the-box process. I'll show you a quicker way of doing it in a second. There's nothing within the current modern interface Maker Studio to replace that custom icon, so we have to switch to Classic. And then we can click Update Icons at the top. And I always still add a 15 by 15 icon despite the Classic interface being deprecated. And that's because within my Solutions Explorer and the Classic interface that's still being used, I still want to see a custom icon. So the icons that I want are 16 by 16, sorry, not 15, 16 by 16 pixels, PNG, and one for the unified interface, which is an SVG, and that's 32 by 32. So in order to get them quickly, I can open up Metro Studio by Sync Fusion, and this is the interface here. You've got all your icons categorized, Again, this contains, it says 7,000 plus icons, and it's updated all the time, so you can see where new icons have been added. And these are all free as long as you've got an activation key with your email to use within your apps. So I can search for certification or cert, and all the icons that match that come up. So I've got quite a big choice here. We'll choose, where is it? We can also change between flat and wireframe. I sometimes like to go to wireframe because that matches, if we have a look back at our model-driven app. These are kind of wireframe icons. And we'll just choose this certification, and we can click this little edit icon to edit it before we download it. So at the moment this is white, so I'm going to change that to black, and I can just use the wee color picker that's in Sync Fusion to change it to black, to pick the color as black. And make sure, just ensure you've got a transparent background on there, and we've got our size is 32 by 32. I always put 1 or 2 Paddy. I sometimes put 2 depending on the icon, the shape of the icon, because sometimes the icon will touch the edges of the house, but 1 or 2. And then we can export that. And I'll export that as an SVG. And then I'll also bring the size down to 16. Put the padding down to 1 again. I export it as a PNG. So that's just got our icons at the correct size for that entity, and we'll upload it. So in order to upload an icon or associate an image to an entity using the out-of-the-box features and no other tools, you first have to create a web resource. I'll choose the file. We have to save and publish. And then we can associate that SVG web resource to the entity. And we'll do the same for the PNG one as well. And as you can see, this is a bit of a long-winded process having to create the web resources, and that's where our XRM toolkit comes in. And if we save that and publish the entity, maybe. And let's have a look at our model-driven app. We should see that our certifications now has quite a nice looking custom icon associated to it. So we've saved a bit of time and we've found the right icon, and we've saved a bit of time resizing using Metro Studio, but it's still quite a long-winded process, especially if we were going to add icons to each of these entities. That could take quite some time. So we can save some of that time. So if we close that over and have a look at our XRM toolbox. And this is the XRM toolbox interface here. You can click on tools to see the available tools. The iconator actually comes built into the XRM toolbox. And it'll prompt you to connect to an organization. I've already got a connection set up for my Freefall 365 environment. And the first thing we do is load entities and images. And we will load it from the StudyMate solution that we've already got created. So this will give us just the custom entities that we've got within our specified solution, along with the images. And I've already got some images in there. So I've got images for cards, categories, certification ones, which we've just added, and a check. Oh, what's that one? That's our exam one, I think. That's the exam one. And we haven't got one for answer. So we'll add some images for answer and we'll go straight back to Metro Studio again. Now, one thing when searching for Metro Studio, if I just search for answer, I'm probably not going to get that much back because it's answering telephones. I've got a bit of an image in my head what I like to think of. So start searching for different, possibly different things that I want to represent an answer. The way I think about representing an answer is that it's probably a list of questions or a list of answers. So I'm going to search for list and we'll see what options we get. And let's do flat, see if we've got any flat ones. We can see all the different options available. I'm probably going to go for a wireframe again and use something like that there to represent a list of answers. Again, same as we did before. I'm going to do 32, padding 1, colors already black, and we'll export that as, first of all, an SVG file, and then a PNG file. And again, the reason I still use the PNG is so that when we switch to Classic Solution Explorer, the icon is displayed correctly. Now, if you go back to our Iconator app, we can add images to this solution. We'll add it to our StudyMate solution, and we'll just create the web resources. So this does our web resources for us, so we could upload those in bulk. If we were uploading 4 or 5 different entities, that would take us quite a while using the out-of-the-box functionality. Once we've got all our images up, we'll select each of the entities that we want to map the images to. We've got a 16 by 16 for answer. And we click map and it gets listed here. And we do that for each of the different sizes that we've got. Let's just do the rest of them while we're in there. And once we've got all our images mapped to entities, we can just click apply and publish. And let's have a look back at our Power App. So now we've got some decent looking icons. They represent They've got some meaning. They've got labels on them as well, like we discussed earlier. The answer one, the icon's a little bit vague for answers, but because it's got a label next to it, I'll kind of let myself off with that one. And we've saved quite a bit of time just by using that Iconator tool. So let's go to our Canvas app now. And this is in a different environment because this one's got a bit more data in the model-driven app. Let's see if we can find it. Here's our StudyMate Canvas app, and we'll click Edit. As I said, anything goes within Canvas app as far as it comes to icons. So you've got the potential to make it look really good or really bad. I try and keep my icons, this icon here, for example, in line with my brand, the brand that I'm using for the app. I'll just stick to the screen. So my next stage in building this app is to add an icon in here. So that when we get to the end of the list of flashcards, a little finish and save icon is to say I'm going to use finish for this one. And I want to try and keep it in line with the rest of the icons used in the app. And if you look at these have got some shadows here. One of the things we'll do first is we'll just select one of the existing buttons. And we can just paste that. So we've got an exact copy of that button, because that button's made up of different components. It's made up of a circle, two circles actually, and then the icon, the image in the middle. So the little bit we need to really replace is this icon. Canvas apps actually comes with a load of other icons as well. You can insert icons from here, but the choice is quite limited. I'm not sure how many there are, but they're quite limited in there. And again, you can't make them. They're very limited in what customizations you can make them. You can change the color, but that's about it. You can't add any shadow or depth to them. So we'll add an image and use that as our icon. And again, we're going to use Metro Studio to pick a suitable image first. Ish. Nothing there. I'm sure there's a race flag in here somewhere. There it is. I say it's worth just trying different search terms. And we'll make this one quite big because we can make this as any size we want really. And we're not going to edit the color in here yet. We'll just export that being black. Oops. We want to export it as an SVG. And again, you always want to try and use the SVGs because, again, the resolution will change dependent on the resolution you're using. So we've now got an icon, and let's open PowerPoint. And you can see I like to keep a PowerPoint with the icons that I've previously made, just so that I can keep the style in line. Oops. Let's pull our SVG into PowerPoint. And we've got quite a few options here now. Close that over and right click that. We can automatically apply different styles. And so I will like to start with a style. So we can put a style on it, and then we can start looking at the different colors. And we can also convert it to a shape. And converting it to a shape allows us to add shadows and gradients to that app. It adds us a bit more, gives us a bit more customization options. If we click Format Shape, this is a list of all our options here. And this is where I use my color pick app. So the Colour Pick app allows you to hover over things and get the colours, and it allows you to save them. So if I click one of these squares here, I've already got the colour I want there, but just to demonstrate, I go to my, let's go to my Power app, and say I want something similar to that there, and I click Control G. Oops, I need to select that first. Control G will save that as a colour in my palette. As I said, I've already got that one there, but it's just to demonstrate how I can save that. And I can save that to my brand palette here. I've got loads of different brands here that I can use. And I can save over there and create my own ones. And that gives me my hex number and also my red, green, blue numbers, which I can use in PowerPoint to style my icon. So let's change the fill to whatever that one is there. And we'll change the line to be in line with the other icons, which is that one there. I'm just taking these red, green, blue from these values that provided us by Colour Pick. And that's us got our icon. And we can save that. Well, it's like we can add a shadow to that as well. I normally add a shadow. And there are some other options in there to add gradients and make them, you can make them really cool and put glows and 3D effects and things on them. But for this example, I'm just going to add a shadow. I like to put a bit more shadow on it than default too. And once I've got that icon, I can save it as a picture. I'm going to save it as an SVG in my temp folder. And upload that to the gallery within my Power app. So I click Browse. Probably want to give it a better name than picture. Sorry. Insert media and image. And then I can just drag that into the control and grip them. And so there's what's used. We've created a completely unique and custom icon as opposed to using any of the out-of-the-box icons, and added some effects to it using PowerPoint and added it to our Canvas app. So that's it really for the live demo. I'll just flick over to the PowerPoint presentation again and summarize. So really, the summary, if you can see my screen yet, in summary, really just one thing to summarize: you don't need design experience or expensive tools to create iconic Power apps. You can create, again, 3D gradients and really kind of feature-rich icons just by using PowerPoint and some of these other free tools that you have available. And I've got a wee homework assignment for you. So your call to action, if you've got the time, you can create a 30-day Power Apps trial. there's a guide here by Mark Smith, NZ365 guide, telling you how all the step-by-step guide on how to create a Power Apps trial, actually D365, that's 365 for Sales trial you'll get, and you can get 30 full days out of that. You can actually extend it to 90, so you've got a full 3 months really to do this homework assignment. So I hope somebody does it. Pick a topic. Pick a topic for your app. Think about something that you're interested in. One of our junior consultants picked a zoo, so he built a basic zoo app which had animals, cages, food, customers in it. My sister is picking a dentist because she's a dentist, so she works in a dental surgery, so she's using patients, things like that. Pick a topic that you're interested in, maybe fun, and create a model-driven app. And there's a link there to the Microsoft instructions on how to create a model-driven app. That's probably the best guide, and add some icons to your add some entities and add some icons to that entities. Also add some data and display the data in a Canvas app. And if you want to check out how to create a Canvas app base from the Common Data Service as your data source, you can go to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.freefall365.com, and there's a complete guide on how to create a basic Canvas app from the entities that you create within the Common Data Service there. And use custom icons in your Canvas app. And if you could tweet a screenshot tagging myself at Paddy Freefall with the hashtag Empower Your Career, showing how you've used icons in your Canvas app effectively, and that should keep you busy for a wee while. So that's it from me. I think we're not too bad for time. But is there any questions you'd like me to cover?
Thanks, Paddy. That is very useful. Just one question from the user experience point of view. Would you suggest we should use colors in designing the icons, or should keep it black and white?
For Canvas apps, absolutely use colors. Make it as rich as possible. I like to. It's more of a personal preference, really. I like to keep it black and white within the model-driven apps, just really because I come from a Dynamics 365 background, and that's the way that a lot of the Air apps, most of the Air apps are. It's particularly the sales and customer service ones. That's the way they stick to the black and white. There are some. I've noticed some within the field service and the PSA app, some coloured icons. I find, again, because most of the other icons are uniform in black and white, I find it easier to use black and white. But that might change with the future updates coming out. Like I said, yeah, I'll stick to black and white, but it's really, again, with the new world of Power Apps coming in and the new design possibilities, and just be as creative as you want, really.
Thanks.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. That's good. So is there any other question in the audience? We're still left with almost 10 minutes now.
Oh, 10 minutes?
Yeah. I think nobody.
Right, nobody?
Nobody is there. So yeah, but it was good. I mean, I learned a lot myself, and of course, with icons, you can add life to your apps, and it makes users appeal that it makes connection with the users because they are humans. They understand the pictures better than anything else. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was
absolutely
good.
Now that we've got the kind of freedom to add coloured icons again, but especially within Canvas apps. Before we were kind of restricted, we couldn't really explore. I couldn't get the creative juices flowing, but now we can be as creative as we want, really, and really make some really cool looking apps.
Yep.
I'll stay on for any questions, but if anyone has any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out to me.
Again, yeah, and also fill out the surveys.
Sorry?
I was just reminding people, fill out the survey.
Yes, fill out the survey, yeah, please. That's my first presentation, so I hope it was okay.
It was really good. Thank you. All right, guys, I will stop recording now.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I'll stay online just in case anyone comes on for another 10 minutes.